How did PTSD destroy my career and destroy me as a person? I joined the police in 1988, in February 1988, and served about 22 years from memory. During that time, I picked up a fair few injuries. I injury to my neck, which was a serious neck injury, my shoulders, knee, mainly from fighting with offenders, but also from jumping over fences and landing harshly. Once I jumped over a fence chasing an escapee, going flat out. I jumped over a colour-blind fence. When I landed on some roof tiles which slipped out from underneath me, and I fell with my right knee straight into the tiles with all my weight, and I smashed my right knee up, which I've since had replaced, a total knee replacement. Also smashed my back up at the same time, which has had surgery on it. Actually this year I had a double laminectomy on my back this year. My neck I'm going to have to look at in the not too distant future. It's got trapped nerves again, which causes me a lot of weakness in my left arm, numbness, that type of thing. So it's a contact sport. But how did I get PTSD? A few people have asked me, how did I get PTSD? Well, I'll just run through a few things that you regularly run into, especially as a country or regional high patrol officer, general duties officer, forensic officer. Bit different in the centre of Sydney. Centre of Sydney, you're doing a lot of shoplifters, you're doing a lot of street crimes, that type of thing. But out here on the main highways, which I worked at the intersection of New England, of the New England Highway and Pacific Highway in my command. So I had basically 2 hours either way on those roads. And those roads, 500 people were killed between New South Wales and the Queensland border in a 10-year period on the Pacific Highway. That's a phenomenal amount of people. 500 people died in a 10-year period on the Pacific Highway from road crashes. Incredible. And lucky for me, and I'm saying that sarcastically because it's not lucky for me at all, but if there was a serious or fatal motor vehicle accident going to happen, it was going to be on my watch every time. So I attended a heck of amount of road fatalities and serious accidents, seeing the worst horrific injuries that you could possibly imagine, having people pass away in my arms, which has happened twice. I'm there telling them to hang in there, the ambulance will be there shortly, and then they just pass away in your arms. And then you've got this real feeling of, it's just terrible. It just rips your heart out. So road accidents, serious accidents, they take their toll on you. I'm just going to read a few from the list here because I don't want to miss out on anything. So you've got people who decide they want to exit life early, which I can't say the S word on YouTube, but you know what I mean. Take their own existence, which every death has to be investigated by the police as if it's suspicious. So it doesn't matter what it is, whether Dad's died last night of a heart attack or whatever, we're still going to investigate that until the coroner's happy that it wasn't a murder or something more sinister. So please look at every death. Dealing with violent offenders, obviously fighting with people who have got hepatitis B, C and HIV is stressful. It's stressful getting bashed around. I got my nose broken once, my jaw dislocated once. Eye gouged that badly I had to be put in hospital once. So yeah, that obviously causes anxiety and issues as far as PTSD and anxiety goes. Dealing with hopeless situations. So dealing with a situation that you know you just can't fix. You've got a person in your command that you have a lot of dealings with. They may be a female, and they may be nice people, but they've got a terrible heroin addiction. And it doesn't matter what anyone does for them, you just know that in the end they're going to die of a heroin overdose. and you're just watching these people go downhill, downhill, downhill. So it's a hopeless situation. You just can't change. I went to a drug overdose one night, which was a prescribed drug overdose, but was told by the paramedics on scene that there's probably very little that could be done for this person because the medication wasn't in their stomach anymore. It had gone through their bloodstream, and a lot of time this sort of medication just takes their lives 3 or 4 days later. A fairly painful process apparently, and so once again you've got that feeling of hopelessness, being at motorbike, car accidents, that type of thing, not being able to control the future, and knowing that the simple fact is these people are going to pass away, whether they pass away today or tomorrow, in a week's time it's going to happen. But sometimes, I know this may sound horrible to a lot of people, but sometimes I've been at accident scenes and I've prayed that the person would pass because their injuries are just so terrible that living or trying to live with them would be a nightmare. And thankfully some of my prayers were answered at those scenes as well. But I don't think you've got any idea how bad these scenes can get. The noises, the smells, and what you see you can never unsee. And you take a piece of every accident home with you, and there's not a day goes by when I don't drift in. You might be relaxed somewhere, just watching a bit of telly or something, my mind will drift away, and it'll drift away to an accident scene, and it starts going through all that accident in my mind. A lot of times when I'm trying to get to sleep, and then your mind starts bringing up all these violent crashes and things. So, yeah, they take their toll. Then you've obviously got domestic violence, which is very frustrating and can be extremely violent. There's lots of murders from domestic violence. Child deaths. You're going to run into young children, deaths involving young children, babies sometimes, maybe from drownings, maybe from crashes, maybe from something else. I've had a couple where the fathers run over them accidentally in their cars, which is just beyond comprehension, how horrible that is. And another reason why you get PTSD and anxiety, or how I did, is your adrenaline just won't back off. So what happens is you're in a high patrol car, patrolling around by yourself, you see someone do something wrong, you put the lights and sirens on, and your adrenaline lifts up. So when you go there, you're ready for a fight if need be. And this is fine, this is what the body does to help you. Push your adrenaline up. But the trouble is, after years and years of putting the adrenaline up, the adrenaline stays up and you can't get it down. So you are like 8 out of 10, ready to go, ready to fight, ready to run the whole time during your day. And that causes you to be on edge. It causes problems with the family. But yeah, that's another thing, domestic violence, cot deaths, your constant exposure to suffering. Obviously, once again, it's like pouring water into a glass. Every incident you go to takes its toll on you until eventually the glass is up near the top and you're just surviving, but you're a mess. Like, I was surviving the last couple of years, I was surviving at work, but I was a mess. I was getting up in the morning with this huge knot in my stomach, feeling nauseous, getting in my car, heading for work, which is only about 20 minutes away, getting halfway there, physically vomiting, being sick on the side of the road, getting to work, having a cup of coffee, going through the morning briefing with the bosses and my team, and then I'd find myself a lot of times in the bathroom crying because some incidents happens overnight. There's been an incident where I've either known the person through policing, through them being a crook or whatever, or somehow. or it's someone that I've been giving warnings to that they're going to end up killing themselves if they don't wake up to themselves. So, yeah, constant exposure to suffering that you can't get people out of. Heroin addicts living in caravan parks with not a cent to their name. Children living with heroin addicts. Terrible, terrible thing. So, what happens to a person as a result of PTSD anxiety? Well, I've written down here some of my long-term symptoms, and don't forget I've been out of the cops now for a fair while. So I had a nervous breakdown just before I left. That was the last day I worked. I had a nervous breakdown, and then they exited me from the job. Since then, the New South Wales Police have been wonderful as far as workers' compensation goes. They have looked after me physically and psychologically extremely well, and I'm probably the best I've ever been. But in saying that, I'm still a mess up here. I know I'm a mess up there. I know I'm sort of like still operating close to the edge, and I know that I'm ready to go off at any minute should need be. It's the way I am now. So, what problems do I have? I have vivid recollections of incidents. So once again, I was telling you, just before bed, or I might be just driving along in the car and go past a scene, and all of a sudden I get a terrible knot in my stomach. And this is without me even thinking about what happened at that point in the road. We were going on a family holiday a couple of years back, and we're driving up the Pacific Highway, and we come to this point in the road, and I had this terrible knot in my stomach. I thought, my God, what have I done? What have I eaten? And then I realised it was because I just passed the scene of an extremely horrific, horrible crash that I'll never forget. And subconsciously up here, it's picked up that I'm driving past that part of the road, and it's put my anxiety through the roof. So, yeah. So you get these, they call them intrusive memories. Nightmares, lots of nightmares. I actually had to be careful. I spent a lot of time not sleeping with my wife in the family bedroom because I'd have these very violent nightmares, and I'd end up thrashing around and punching around, and I was scared I was going to really hurt her. So in my first couple of years of medically unfit retirement, that's what used to happen. It doesn't happen now, except for the nightmares. Plenty of nightmares, plenty of police nightmares. Ones where I've got the gun and they're shooting at me, but I pull the trigger and my gun won't work. I have that all the time. I have these probably 3 or 4 incidents that are really embedded deeply in my head, that if I'm just not thinking, I'll drift off to it, and I'm there. I can smell it, I can taste it, I'm there. And it's very hard to fix. I've been to a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists and groups, and I'm here. A lot of my friends, and I say a lot, I shouldn't have to say that, but a lot of my friends aren't, because the stresses and anxiety's got them, and they've had a heart attack, a stroke, got cancer, or the S word. They've decided they just can't cope anymore, so they exited life. A fair few of my friends exited life. They couldn't cope anymore. It's very sad. I also get panic attacks at any time for any reason. Subconsciously up here will pick up something that's not right in the room or something. All of a sudden I find I have difficulty breathing. I'm having a panic attack. So I have those still. My ability to wind down is still not good. So my adrenaline is still 40 or 50% all the time, so I'm trying to burn that down every day, which is hard. I used to be a very angry person after I'd been in the cops for a few years. Little things would annoy me, I'd spit out, I'd have these big throwdowns, I'd throw things in the house, I'd punch holes in the wall, this, that, the other. I'm surprised my wife's still with me. If I was her, I wouldn't be, I tell you. Just some of the things I did. But I was extremely bad-tempered and about to explode at any minute. And when I exploded not physically hurting anyone, sometimes damaging my own property, but just hitting the roof, and I mean going right off, and in the middle of a shopping centre and things like that. That's not attractive. And like I say, I don't know how my wife put up with it, but she's a lovely person, a wonderful person. She's a unicorn. There's not many unicorns around, but my wife's a unicorn. Very, very, very rare. I'm so lucky to have her. Other things I've got on my list here. Irritability, yeah, we just covered that. Emotional numbness. Now this is a good one. Well, it's not a good one, it's a bad one. What happens in the cops when you see something and it's pretty horrible, you start building this wall up to protect yourself from these horrible incidents. So in the end, you have no emotion because people expect police to be staunch, stand-up, strong people at all times. You can't cry in front of the public. You can't show any emotion because the police are staunch and strong, and this is what they do. So you bottle it all up inside, but in the end you can't feel any emotion at all. One of the last jobs I did was a shooting incident where this fellow had a shotgun, and it was one of the last jobs I did was a shooting incident where this fellow had just unbelievable injuries to his face and head. But when I went there, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel sorry for him. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel anything. And that's another reason why in the end I had a nervous breakdown, because I realised that I didn't feel anything. I was emotionally numb. I call it being stone-faced. Stone-faced, you never smile, you never frown, you just got that same look on your face. But the thing is, with dramas inside my own family that normally people would be very upset about, I just sort of like, ho-hum, so what, let's get on with the day. And then people think, oh, you're a callous, hard bastard. But it's just what's happened to you as a result of policing. Very sad. It's getting better with me now, but it's taken years. Withdrawing from people, it's another bad symptom that I suffer from. I feel safe in my home. I've got my own man cave at home. I live in there basically. It's like my safety cocoon. I don't like going down the road to the shops. I don't like leaving home. When I'm in an area where there's a lot of people, I feel extremely anxious, because the number one rule that police are taught very early on is never have someone behind you. But if you're in a shopping centre, there's people behind you, and you're trying to scan, you're thinking of all these things that could happen at any time, and have happened in shopping centres, shootings, stabbings and that sort of thing. So yeah, I tend to not leave home much. And then I have my friends that used to ring me and say, hey, Michael, we're going down the pub. Do you want to come down? There's a really good band. I go, oh, yeah, no worries, go. Nowadays, do you want to come out? No. Do you want to do coffee? No. Do you want to come down my place? No. I just don't want to. So I burn all my bridges with my friends because I just want to be by myself in my little safety bubble at home. Depression's always been a big issue with my PTSD as well. So it doesn't matter how good the day is, it's gloom and doom, and it's just hopeless. All the things I used to love to do, motorcycle riding, water skiing, even playing a guitar, I can't do anymore because of my injuries, and therefore I get more depressed because I've got a lot of time on my hands that I can't do anything with. Depression's a terrible thing as well. I used to have, but I don't anymore, what they call a startled or I used to have what they call I used to have what they call a startled response, an exaggerated response to what is happening around me. So, in other words, someone would clap and I'd jump up and I'd be hanging off the chandelier because I'd think I was a gunshot. And my kids used to think it was hilarious because if they come around the corner and went boo, Dad would and be hanging off the ceiling sort of thing. So on edge all the time, waiting for something to happen. Then something does happen, like a car backfire, and you jump through the roof. It's taken me years to come down off that. I'm a lot better than I used to be. But so all these things are what police do, and these psychological injuries are what can happen to you in the police. I got involved in a heck of amount of things because I wanted to be a really good police officer. I enjoyed the job, so I'd put my hand up to go to the more serious jobs, whereas other people would dodge them. If I was out in my high trail car and there was a serious domestic or a serious whatever, I'd put my hand up straight away and go to. So I was probably going to a whole heap more serious incidents than a normal police officer. But in saying that, a normal police officer, general duties police officer, is going to see a heck of amount of horrible situations over their career. So it's just something that's going to happen. You can't stop it. It's your job. It's your job to clean up these messes. So, it's after a lot of group therapy, a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, and understanding from my family, probably the best I've ever been since I joined the cops now. But yeah, it's certainly taken its toll on me. So PTSD and anxiety is a real sicknesses, and they're things that are going to come back and bite you. And what you're going to be is really aware, if you're a police officer, that what's happening, what you're doing in your life or in your family life, whatever, is probably as a result of the serious accident you went to on the road a couple of weeks ago. And you've got to make allowances and adjustments and keep your family together, because the family unit's the main thing above all. I hope that's given you some insight into a policeman's lot. As I've said before, I'm now permanently out of the police force. I was retired because of my injuries, my physical and psychological injuries, workers' compensation injuries. So they've looked after me really well as far as medications and doctors and surgery, that type of thing. The weekly benefit is terrible. I get I think about $700 a week is my pay from doing all that horrible police work, and that's what I get paid for all my injuries and demise. But I'm still here. That's the main thing. A lot of my friends aren't, so still very positive. And I've got a lovely family. Thanks for watching The Long Way Home. Take care.